Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and anything in between, welcome back to the Ramble. Today, myself and Mr. Dave are going to be talking about the gym and getting started at the gym, anxiety related to the gym, and bit of everything, really.
That was beautiful, Jack. That is exactly what we're going to be doing today. And we're going to be covering two different perspectives on it. We're going to be covering my perspective as someone who is incredibly introverted and found it incredibly difficult to get into the gym environment. And obviously, from Jack's perspective, being a coach and obviously someone who spends a shit ton of time in the gym, really. I mean, you absolutely love the gym, don't you, Jack?
Well, do I?
Do
That's the
you? We're
question.
about
Do
to find
I
out.
love the gym? Have I ever? Find out next time on the Rambling Rabbit podcast. Um, so I would say that in terms of training individuals at the gym,
Mm,
I find a lot of fulfillment in that. However, I'm going to be completely honest and transparent as always. Personally, my own training and weight training, I don't particularly enjoy it these days. I
mm,
more so do it as a necessity because I know that it benefits my mental health. So my training has very much become something that I just do
right.
because again, I know that it benefits me, and I don't
Yeah.
I don't need to enjoy it. So don't get me wrong, some days I still do very much enjoy it. We were talking about pull-ups previously before we
Yeah.
started the recording, right? And you could tell from my reactions to what I said to you that I clearly did enjoy that session
Mm.
today.
Absolutely, and I think that's how it comes to you. Really, it's very much a place where you can feel both your worst and your best. But I think in that process, you realize that you are running off determination, because if you can get into the gym in both those states, then you're doing something incredibly powerful, incredibly meaningful. Um, because people, myself included, I think we've all been at this place where you run solely off motivation, and you will only find yourself in the gym on your best days. And this obviously is incredibly inconsistent, and you'll find that you don't really achieve much. I never really achieved much because it was so sporadic in my own set, like my week in and week out. I would just sort of like initially only get into the gym when I felt at my best.
Absolutely. I hands down 100% the same. This would have been years before we actually met.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
Probably 18 to late 20s. I would go to the gym when motivated,
Yep.
um, but I wouldn't go to the gym when I really needed to,
Mm,
which would normally be when I wasn't motivated to go. And I think that this is a big message and a big turning point for me that I try to drill into people is that it's not so much about going on the days that you feel very enthusiastic about going. It's more so about going on the days that you really don't want to, that build that character
yeah.
development,
Yeah.
that builds that mental resilience. And I think there's a lot to be said about that because when you look at the social media side of things, it's very much, and we briefly touched on this before, it's very much short clips of people feeling really motivated and
Mm,
having, smashing the gym and having a great time. But it's such a small snippet of the journey
yeah.
of somebody that does consistently go to the gym.
Yeah.
The reality that you don't see is that, like you said, Dave, we're not always motivated.
Mm,
Sometimes a workout is an absolute slog. Um, but having said that, even if you get to the gym and only do one set on your worst days, you're still building that mental resilience and toughness because you've still
yeah.
managed to actually step foot out of the door and still get something done.
Absolutely. This was a big message for me, and it was one that you actually told me in I guess, sort of my early-ish gym days, because you knew me before I even set foot in a gym properly. Really, I've been
Yeah, I
gyms over
did.
the
That's
years.
correct.
I've been to gyms over the years. Don't get me wrong, and I've gone with my parents, or I've just had a natter here and there in gyms, but nothing consistent and nothing where I felt like, okay, this I really need to change my life. I really could use an outlet in which I grow. I push myself and grow from it, right? And yeah, I remember some of our earliest conversations was you encouraging me to just try, just have a little go, just turn up to the gym. Was
Yeah.
what you said to me was one of the biggest things that really helped me just understand the mindset of doing something consistently. Was just, it's not about smashing every workout, it's about just turning up to the workout. It's just about having that schedule and just trying to stick to it. Even if you have a shit session, even if you're in there 5 minutes on a fucking treadmill, right? That was
Yeah.
one of the biggest things that really like lit a fire under me, was that I, even though obviously you want to have good gym sessions, you're
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
always going to have fucking good gym sessions. It's just not going to
Definitely.
happen. Some sessions are going to be dog shit. And some of my gym sessions were dog shit, but some of them
And
were
some of them
amazing.
still, yeah, some
Yeah.
of them still will be
And
dog
they
shit,
will,
right? That's
and they're
the,
gonna be,
yeah,
like,
yeah. There's
it's
gonna
just,
be,
but that's life. That's every facet of life. Is like, we're not always going to have, even our, some, like, for me, fitness, exercise, climbing, these things have become emotional outlets for me, right? And I think one of the biggest betrayals to these outlets that I've done is place expectations so high on them to like to always foster great mental health.
yeah, to alleviate something.
It's just an
It's
incredibly
it's
unrealistic
the
expectation to
it's
put
the
on these
same.
outlets.
Yeah, it's the same. Sorry, just before I forget it,
Of
it's
course not.
the same thing as using a pill, right?
Mm,
You use a pill
yeah.
to alleviate a symptom. You can do exactly the same with training to alleviate symptoms.
Yeah.
So it can become a negative thing. It can if you are not mindful
Mm,
of what's going on there. I think just a little bit of like an interesting background here is that information that I gave you in regards to training and still going on the days that you want to, or even if you turn up for just 5 minutes, that originated from my own journey. I
mm,
don't even know if you know this, but the
mm.
whole reason I told you those things is because it's something that I discovered, and that where I'm at now as a trainer is so far from where I began. And it's worth mentioning that when I began back at the gym, I was highly anxious and highly low mood, and that my very first starting point on return to the gym was just being in the gym car park in my car, and I would drive home. That's how bad my anxiety was. And
Yeah.
then it went from there to going inside and doing 5 minutes on the rowing machine and then going home again. That was my starting point.
Mm.
This is going back 4 or 5 years now, but I think it's important to let people know that, although I'm a trainer now and I've got a much better hold on my mental health, that in the beginning it was a real struggle.
Yeah.
And that the information that I passed on to Dave was from those struggles. And it's genuinely amazing to know that that helped you
Yeah. Of course not.
in the
Yeah.
same way that it helped me. And I think it's something that a lot of people need to develop. I call it the switch. So what I would tend to do is, before I went to the gym, if I was having a bad day, I could easily talk myself out and not go to the gym. So the switch that I needed to develop was cutting off all of those thoughts and just going to the gym,
Ape mode.
which is easier said than done. But once I did, it was a case of when those thoughts started coming in, I'd go, no, and I'd just literally grab my shoes, go. Um, I don't know what do you have any particular processes that you follow on the bad days, or
Well, I think, yeah. So that's a great question. I think that um especially in the early days when we were talking, and obviously you were definitely an outlet, like as a friend to communicate
Mm.
with and work through. I think sometimes those audio journaling or those audio journals really help me. And obviously, like, you know what's mad? I actually listened to a couple of them back the other day. I actually just
Yeah.
went straight back up our WhatsApp and
Yeah,
I
all the
listened.
way.
I did, and I will admit, I got very emotional. I got,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it really moved me. Like how far in such a short period of time, realistically, like
Yeah,
things
yeah.
have changed, you know, and it's incredible, like what the human mind can do if you really just foster that that sort of progression and just be your own best friend, be your cheerleader, be the person that wants you to be at your best, right?
Yeah.
Be there for yourself. And I think in terms of processes that really helped me get started with that was just honestly just communicating with a friend and just having an outlet to bounce off of, you know? And obviously, if some people don't have that, if they don't have someone maybe that's trying to, or someone that's not in that same area of growth, maybe just journaling, maybe just writing your thoughts down, be your own
Yeah.
best friend, be that person that wants you to be the best version of yourself. And I think being able to really organize your thoughts, articulate what exactly you're going through and what you're trying to achieve, there's it's the top of the pyramid, Jack, isn't it? It's manifesting, it's actualizing.
Yeah.
You are on a journey, you are clearly laying out the boundaries of your journey, a bit like maybe Dungeons and Dragons, you know, like you have a, you know, it's like a game, it's like an adventure,
Yeah,
just like we
absolutely. Make it
discussed.
something fun. Yeah.
Exactly, just like we discussed about our adventures in our last episode. I think, I think that's it. It's just, it's about changing that perspective. You know, you might be putting a lot of pressure on yourself to get into the gym. Why? Why is that? You know, is it something you should do? Is it something you need to do, or is it something you want to do? Just this, you know, just how we phrase these things and how we approach any sort of task like this can really just alleviate a lot of just unnecessary stress around the idea of it initially, right? You don't need to go to gym just as much as you don't need to go on a walk or do anything
Yeah.
really. Like we're all on our own journeys in life, and as I say, if you want to go to the gym, actualize
Mm.
it, put it into words, and maybe you know, start working towards that goal. That's what I would say, and that's the thing that definitely helped me out was
I
audio journaling with yourself, mate. That was
I
huge.
think you just touched on another really interesting point as well,
Hmm.
which is it doesn't have to like exercise doesn't have to
Hmm.
be the gym. Like
Yeah.
exercise doesn't have to be lifting weight. You know, you might like swimming, you might like badminton, you might like squash, you might like walking, hiking, you
Yeah.
know, camping. It can be so much more
Hmm.
than just going to the gym. And that's like a really important point to get across to people is
Yeah.
that just discover something, you know, try the gym. Don't like it, try something else. Just keep trying until you find that thing
Yeah.
that lets you exert energy, lets you kind of de-stress, and that kind of stabilizes your mood.
Hmm.
Um, there was another point that I was going to touch on. First of all, I think it's journaling that you were mentioning.
Hmm.
I think another and a real big benefit to journaling, I'm not sure if you did mention this or not, you might have done, so correct me if I'm wrong,
Of course, man.
but is being able to go back and see how far you've come.
Absolutely.
Because without the journaling or without some kind of let's call it like a filing system. Without it, you can't go back. So it's hard to actually reference how far you've
Hmm.
come. And most people that are consciously trying to make an effort to improve will have improved, if not all people. If you genuinely want change. But the thing is, the way that our brains work, I think it can be very difficult without visual references to go back and remember.
Yeah.
So, like what you did the other day, Dave, when you scroll back through our WhatsApp, which will be probably a year, if not more,
It's
worth
coming
of
up to that. Yeah.
conversations. Um, I can understand fully why that might have made you feel emotional because,
Hmm.
like we've discussed before, you have come so far in your journey.
Yeah.
So it is nice to be able to look back and just go, "Whoa, damn!" You know, and you'll. I think a lot of the time people will be surprised by it. It won't seem like you've come a long way, but actually, when you take a little flicker back, it's like, whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah. I got a question for you, Jack, actually. So within the
Yeah.
gym, what are your like favorite things to actually do in there? Like what do you enjoy the most about the gym when you actually get into a session? Because you obviously discussed before, we discussed
Mm,
before about obviously you're enjoying, I guess, your pull-ups at the moment and
yeah.
reining in on that. Is there any particular movements? Do you think there's or anything in particular that you actually enjoy about
I
movement or
Yeah, I think so. As with anything, I feel like gym, fitness, whatever it
mm,
is kind of the progression of things. So
mm,
right now, currently, I'm enjoying body weight movements and
mm,
putting a high focus on full, what I would call real active awareness on mind and muscle body connection
mm,
and full control throughout the whole of the movement. So with my pull-ups, I've stopped necessarily just doing pull-ups without thought, and I've started doing pull-ups that are extremely slow, a real hold and a squeeze at the top, and then extremely slow on the way down. And I try to do as many as I can with that real slow tempo, with a much higher focus on the exact muscles that I'm trying to work. So for pull-ups, obviously it's mainly like your back muscles. So I'm like really focusing on squeezing my back muscles as I get my chin over the pull-up bar, holding there for a second, going back down, feeling the stretch even on my lats while I'm hanging,
yeah,
and then the engagement when I've got to switch it all back on to get up again. Um, and that's the same with, I'm trying to carry that over to every movement at the moment. You will hear bodybuilders talk about it a lot, or if you've ever watched Pumping Iron, I think
mm.
it's discussing there, like
Arnie
the
talked it
mind,
about it a bit,
yeah, the
yeah.
mind muscle connection. It's such an important thing, whether it's advanced or beginners. Whatever movement you're doing, I feel like it's extremely important to place an
Yeah.
emphasis on before you even lift the weight. Okay, what muscle group am I actually trying to
Mm,
hit right now? And if I feel like if you do that, you'll develop a much better and well-rounded physique because you're actively aware of what you're trying to work. um B, you'll develop your bodily knowledge, like your own body, like your knowledge of your own body so much more, and find out what really works for you. And yeah, I just feel like there's a lot of benefits for that
mm,
because I see people time and time again performing movements that are not really thinking about it, and
yeah.
it's quite easy to do. It's, a deadlift is just picking a bar up and putting it back down, right? Or just picking an object up and putting it back down. But again, it can be as simple or as complex as you make it. And I think
Yeah.
that the more you can understand a movement and a muscle group, the more benefits you're going to reap from that
Mm.
movement.
Yeah, I would just like to add on to that really as well. The thing that I find, especially as quite a deep thinker, and I know those of you who are watching who might, I guess, experience life on quite an emotional and deeper level, the gym and just exercise in general, with utilizing mind muscle connection, you bring a sense of mindfulness into your exercise.
Yeah.
You bring almost like meditation and stillness into a moment in time. And I think that's one of the most amazing things about fitness is that you really cannot think about too much if you are fully engaging in the mind muscle connection with whatever it is you're currently doing. And obviously, really, obviously, focusing on a particular mechanical bodily movement, right? So, for instance, like a
Yeah.
bench press, if you're really feeling that in your chest and you're focusing on your chest, it's the exact same thing as if you were just sat down and you were doing like a body scan meditation, or you were just, you know, it's a very similar process.
Can really
Yeah,
bring you into the moment, right?
absolutely. That's it. Really brings you into that experience, into that moment. Very hard
Take
to
you
think
away.
about anything else.
I was just gonna say, also the ability to take you away from that kind of negative internal
Mm,
thought patterns, or just putting your attention on things that perhaps aren't
yeah.
too productive for you. You raise a really, really interesting kind of conversation there, because I think that's one of the reasons why I enjoy the martial arts so much, is that you constantly are thinking,
Yeah.
and because you've constantly got problems that you need to find
So,
solutions to, whether that's with the striking, whether it's with the jujitsu, because you have those problems that you have to find solutions to, you're very much constantly engaged
mm,
in just mental thought and focus, really.
yeah.
And I think it's just a very beneficial, if obviously if done in the correct way. We won't go too much down the loophole of that right now, but
Yeah,
if
absolutely,
it
man.
if it's like if it's someone that you're sparring with that's really heavy and doesn't have control, and they're just trying to beat the crap out of you, then you're not going to really get that from it. If it's somebody that has the ability to flow spar, then yes, you're going to be in a much more relaxed state, and I feel learn more and be switched on more than
Mm,
just being in a scrunched up fighting for your life kind of situation, which
yeah.
again, it's just my opinion, but I feel that the basis of martial arts training should be more so focused on that kind of flow sparring and getting used to the martial arts, especially for beginners. And
Mm,
then you progress it from there, right? Of course, you can have heavy sparring
yeah.
if that's agreed upon with your partner, of course. Not against it at all, but yeah, I just feel like, especially for beginners, having that kind of relaxed flow sparring environment. I know that helped me with the jujitsu so much more than if it was constantly aggressive, heavy rolls.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an interesting point.
Yeah. I think to really wrap it up there, Jack, I think the main thing to really take away is that there is always something for everyone, especially in fitness. There will genuinely be something for everyone. We're not meant. I don't think we're really sedentary creatures.
No.
we're movers, man. And I
Yeah,
think that even if you don't like the gym as such, if the gym ain't for you and you've been a few times, there definitely will be sports out there that will tickle that interest. Will do it for you. Um,
absolutely. I
yeah.
think although yeah, I agree that I don't think that we are made to be sedentary. Is that the right one? Sedentary? Is it sedentary or sedentary? It'd be sedentary, wouldn't it?
I'm gonna Google
I
it.
think it'd be sedentary, but yeah, you Google it while you do your Joe Rogan. Pull up that
Pull
screen,
it
man.
up.
Pull up that screen. Even though I feel like it benefits us more to be active, we are, unfortunately, we are also capable of being sedentary creatures. So yeah, the body can get into routine, can't it? It can get into both negative and positive routines.
Yeah,
Have
I
you
followed it up.
found it?
I'm gonna. Oh, wait, hold on.
Sedentary.
Sedentary.
Sedentary. Okay.
Sedentary.
And I was
Sedentary.
saying sedentary.
I think I said that. I don't even know anymore, man.
It doesn't matter. But no,
It's
I feel like
semantics.
we've
Yeah.
as you said, if we wrap it up there today, I feel like we've covered a lot of
Yeah.
good aspects of fitness.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for watching. Appreciate it. Please do, again, if you've enjoyed, if you've got something from the video, drop a like, subscribe if you've enjoyed it. There's going to be future episodes.
Yeah.
So thanks again for watching.
Thanks, guys. Don't put too much pressure on yourselves. Later.
Cameras there.